Welcome to Beers and Brewing. Today we're going to talk about troubleshooting your beer. There's a lot of different things that could happen to your beer, and here's how to avoid that. Or let's say this happened to your beer, and this is how you can fix it in the future. Bad news is you are already stuck with the bad beer in most cases. Um, there's in all these cases, there's probably nothing else you can do at this point. So it's just back to my other videos of taking good notes and figuring out what you can do next time. So let's start with what if your fermentation doesn't start? A few different things can happen here. Maybe you have inadequate yeast in there. Maybe your wort was too hot when you pitched the yeast. You have to wait till it gets that temperature that depends on ales and lagers, of course, before you pitch that. Um, Maybe your fermentation is fine, but the bucket wasn't sealed, so the air bubbles aren't going through the lock, but it's still fermenting. You're still safe right there before um, the yeast cake should protect it from any contamination to go underneath that beer, underneath the yeast. But I would seal that up right away, of course. Next, maybe not enough yeast, or maybe you didn't aerate the wort properly. All I do, because it's just a 5 gallon batch, is pour it into the fermentation bucket, and that bubbles it up real well and aerates it. If you have bigger batches, there's oxidation tools out there you can use. I'll put a couple links below for some sites to go check out, like Adventures in Homebrewing. That is one of our partner sites, so definitely check that out as well. Um, a couple more things you could look at that could happen to your beer. Maybe you have like a overly bitter beer that's not from the hops. A couple things can happen from there. Maybe like a tea-like quality you might get from that. Um, could come from sparging with water that's over 170 degrees. You want to keep it. Now, when I sparge, I have 175-degree water, but by the time I get into the mesh and I'm sparging, it has dropped already below 170. So you can kind of watch out for that. Um, could this even be um, or steeping for too long as well? That could also be one of your issues. Let's say you have a sour or tart beer. Well, chances are you have a contamination. Um, and maybe you mash too long overnight. Some people have been trying that lately to save time and instead of brewing all at once. Be careful with that because it doesn't always work out too well. Or maybe the yeast did not absorb the diacetyl. Um, so you want to have that yeast sit a little longer next time. What happens is some people will just pull it off too early and they'll have some diacetyl right there. Now with lager strains there will be a diacetyl rest required in most cases, so look out for that. Um, Maybe you have a buttery or butterscotch like flavor going on there. Maybe you rack the beer too early. It could be the yeast strain as well, but usually cases, you rack the beer too early there. So make sure that that final gravity is where it needs to be before you just rack it into your bottles or your keg. Maybe like a Band-Aid like aroma. It's kind of how a lot of people describe it. That's a contamination in most cases. There's not really much more to that one, but that's to fix the contamination issues, by the way, since I'm kind of going over these um, at a high level, I would just make sure your sanitization is very sound. It includes your bottling and kegging process as well, because you don't really typically change taste the flavors until you get to that point. So make sure going into the fermenters super sanitized, and then also your bottling and kegging process as well. Maybe you have a vinegar or acid acidic type aroma. There's another contamination there, what you typically have. Um, let's say the wort is darker than expected. Um, Usually, if you are an extract brewer, this might happen if you scorch it. When I used to do extract brewing, I would make sure I took it off that burner, the burner was off, and then I would mix it in real good, make sure it didn't hit the bottom of the kettle, and then make sure that didn't scorch. That scorching will also cause some bad flavors as well. Um, Now, for the all grain side, maybe you ran off the wort too quickly. You want to make sure you have that 45-minute to hour-long sparging time frame, so that could be part of it. Maybe the grains are crushed too finely as well, so you want to make sure you have a good crush, not that real fine flour-like one too much. There will be some, but not too much. Um, Stuck mash. That is a problem when you go to those bigger beers. I have a 10-gallon Home Depot cooler I use for my mashing, and there is times I've had stuck mash. Use some more of the rice hulls. You want to make sure you keep that water going when you're sparging. Don't let that get too dry because that can cause that to happen. That can also come from your crush is too coarse or it was too floury, or you went too fast when you're collecting the wort, either in sparging or just the initial before you start sparging, right? Um, let's say you have low extract efficiency. So a lot of people will mix these words up. So I'll make it super easy. I'm talking about brew house efficiency and also mash efficiencies together here. So one, you want to take your time. I mentioned that already. Your water chemistry might not be that good. There's a whole water book about this, so I'd look into that because it's a whole other subject. But your pH wants to be between 5.2 and 5.6 for this. Um, and going for those higher gravity beers, once you get over 1080, your efficiency is going to drag, just so you know too. So it's something you should look out for. If you really want to hit those higher percentages, adding some dry extract malt, or liquid malt might be the answer there. Um, and then just not taking your time really is the biggest thing I would say. But watch out for those things like water, and watching how your crush looks. There's a lot of different ones I have here, but let's say, hmm, bottle conditioned beer is flat. So this is I've done bottle conditioned for a long time, but I kind of was going off memory here for my notes. And let's say you forgot to put the priming sugar in. That could be part of it. Or maybe it wasn't mixed in well enough. Um, or it could even be a contamination, because that will eat up that process of the sugars, um, creating the carbonation inside the bottles for you. Um, let's see what else do I have for you today. Cheesy aroma or flavor. So this is not a fun one, but I've had them before. The hops were old or stale. That could be one of your issues. Or the wort was cooled too slowly. So some people chill it down in 15 minutes. Some people wait a few hours and put it in a cool area to get down the temperature and then pitch the yeast. And I've done that many times and it's come out great. So I don't know how slow you could really do, but this is kind of based on some research I've done because I don't always have cheesy aroma flavor. So I was trying to find out what else could be causing that issue, and that's what I found. But the hops could be a problem there because maybe you just store them properly. I've talked to someone that was having trouble with their brewing before, and they said, "Well, I put my hops in, and it came out really bad." So we talked about everything a little deeper. Found out he's leaving the hops right on top of the fermenter, out in the open. It wasn't in the refrigerator, and it made them stale like that. So watch where you put your hops as well, I guess. Um, let's say you have a solvent like or a nail polish aroma is what, or maybe a fusel oil or higher alcohol type of flavor. It could be your high original gravity. So those ones you want to age out a little bit. That can kind of fix that. Or inadequate aeration. So back to the make sure you aerate it real well, especially if it's a high gravity beer. Um, let's say you have a skunk-like aroma. Maybe you have the beer was exposed to too much light. That could happen from um, if you have a glass carboy and it had a lot of light in that room. You could take a towel and wrap it around it, or just make sure that room is real dark. All my fermenters are not see-through, so they're plastic in most cases, but you can't really see through them too much, and they're usually in darker rooms, so that can kind of help fight off that one. Um, let's see, beer on the ceiling. So I was trying to find out other ways I can help you out here with troubleshooting, and um, I've never seen this before, but I've had a fermenter that was just destroyed in the inside from a high gravity beer, and the airlock. could clog in there, and then so much pressure was created that it could shoot up into the air. The fix for that is use a blow off tube next time. But I haven't had that quite happen yet, but it was pretty close to that that was needed. In my some of my if you use a carboy, a lot more pressure will feed up in that small area and probably shoot off. I was using a bigger bucket that had a more headspace, so that didn't end up having that issue. But that's all I have for today. Hope that is helpful for you guys. It is. We kind of went through a lot of this. Oh, actually, one more I want to go over is wet cardboard. Um, this is usually due to too much oxygenation. This will happen if you when you bottle it or you keg it and you leave it open for too long. Or I've had it happen before where I forgot to when I kegged it, I forgot to release the pressure and of the air and bleed out the air, the remaining oxygen, and have only CO2 left inside. That has created a wet cardboard type taste, and it was horrible. It was a great beer beforehand, and then it turned bad. So you live and learn. But anyhow, here are your troubleshooting tips for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the videos and check out the amazing deals in the link below for this holiday season from Adventures in Homebrewing. They have some great deals going on. I hope you can get on those soon. And thanks for watching the video, and thanks for subscribing. Cheers.